Manliness. And guess what? Today we've got a guest. Special guest today. We've got Mr Stuart Whiffen from Off the Beaten Track and Hardcore Listing. He is a businessman. I think we could call you a businessman.
Ooh, and
I think you can add editor to your list as well now.
Correct.
Because you're an editor of Pod Bible as well. He is a musician and songwriter. Was. Well, we still count it. What else are you? A family man.
Your mate.
And my oldest and best friend to add to boot. So we're going to start the hour now. We know how it goes. There's an hour's worth of us talking mostly about our feelings, but we don't know if we're going to, we'll see how we get on today. We do an hour. After an hour, it stops and we end when the alarm goes off. It is like an hour in the therapist's chair. My name's Nick Noyes, as you should know by now. My colleague over here is now called Brad Action.
Yeah, thanks for ever come up with that name. Oh, because Nick Noyes is like a proper rock star sounding name. I know Brad, I suppose, is all right in some sort of circles, but we come up with like Bad Brad. I just sounded like a ultimate paedophile.
Yeah.
Like a few other names. And someone was like, just Brad Action.
Yeah.
I was like, that sounds all right. And all I've got to do is change the I, like by default. So it only costs like 50 quid or whatever. So
Are you
I'll get that
actually going to change it by default?
Yeah, I'll get that sorted out.
Are you really?
Well, I've got to take it seriously, haven't I? So.
Brad Action. I really like that.
I think the kids will like it too.
That's fucking well. What, are you going to change their names
Well,
as well?
It's only fair. Can't have different names, can they? So I think it'd be all right. Work out fine.
I didn't know if you were... I mean, you seem very progressive as a couple. I wondered if they had, like, you and your wife's surname.
What, like a double barrel thing? Acton, that's too much. Far too much.
My friend Ashley's got that. Ashley's Ashley Smith Clements.
Yeah, it does sound like quite... I like how classy it sounds.
Yeah, I always think it sounds...
It depends how classy you are, though. I'm not very classy, so...
No, Brad Action works for you.
Yeah, Brad Action, I think. Yeah.
Like Brad Action Watson. Just don't work, mate.
But like Brad Action, like low-budget porn star.
Yeah.
I think. Like caravan legend.
Double-barreled names. We're not posh enough.
No.
Brad
Anal Action.
Anal Action.
Chad Action.
Chad Action. What changed the first? Yeah, that makes sense.
Even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
Well, it's up for debate anyway, and it changes every episode. So who knows what it'll be next week?
I think maybe we should stick with Action because I think that's cool.
Yeah, I like it.
So what episode is this?
This is episode number 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
Has it, you been having fun?
So good. Amazing. The response is mental. From people that we wouldn't have expected to normally have that sort of response from. And it's just nice to know that people are actually listening to it. Mm-hmm. We said if we can like get one person listening to it, then we've sort of made it, which I know is a bad business model for a podcast. Yeah. And we've had more than one, which is good. And we've had 7. So, mate, we've had loads. I'm not going to say how many because I want it to be like a nice surprise when we do. Yeah, obviously, we'll tell you later, but like for the listener, I think we'll save that surprise.
Yeah, we always keep our numbers to ourselves.
But it's nice to see them coming in. And what's mad as well was when I sent that picture, didn't I, of the different places around the world that people are listening. So if you're listening today, big up the Israel Massive and our friends in Outer Mongolia.
Someone in Outer Mongolia?
Yeah. So thanks for listening. I wish I knew your native tongue. Maybe I don't need to because you've listened to like the whole episode. So
I mean, if they didn't understand English, then that's a devoted listener.
Yeah, I mean I like to think our listeners would be that devoted to the point that they don't even need to understand what we're actually saying.
Yeah, they can fucking understand me.
That's a good shout, actually. Maybe that's what it is. Like in a parallel,
I'm slurry at best of times.
In a parallel dimension, like what you're actually saying makes perfect sense in Mongolian.
Oh yeah. Don't they do talking with their throats and that?
Oh yeah,
like that.
They do that, don't they?
Yeah. So, when I messaged you about coming on, one of the things I was particularly interested in is about that. Well, for starters, you're one of the most manly men I know.
You think so?
Yeah, I think you're very manly.
Okay. And, why do you say that?
Well, like you do exercise.
The diet is wise.
Maybe I'll do exercise to keep my mental health where it should be.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. So it's like, how do you keep on track? Because you do so many different things.
Yeah.
This is what occurs to me. You're the busiest, hardest working person I know.
I'm a plate spinner.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
But like, if anyone ever says anything, like they say, "What's going on, Stuart?" I'm like, "He's a grafter. He's busy."
I thought you say it's a grass.
Yeah,
He's
don't say nothing to him.
grass, mate.
Someone
Don't
else
tell
spray
him
on a
nothing.
bridge.
Whiffen's a grass.
Yeah. Why? What do you want to know?
But like, grafter is definitely like. I've always known you to work hard.
Yeah.
I've never known you to do anything but work your ass off.
Yeah.
And then last time we spoke, you were like really, really busy, like non-stop busy. So how do you, for starters, if I get like that, if I'm really busy, I don't kind of make time to kind of get my head together, I go downhill quite quickly.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that you do, is like you exercise, and that helps you keep sane.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say that I struggle with my mental health. I'd say that I'm generally quite well.
Yeah.
But if I feel low, it's quite instant. If I have a run or I go and box, that I come out of there and I feel completely lifted. And as much as I'm tired and I think I don't want to go, and I'm, millions and millions of people feel like that. They get up, and some people go to the gym, and just the thought of it, it's just like, but then obviously the minute you've done it and you come out, you feel like you've done something, and your body feels better and your mind feels better. And I think what I've also tried to do as well is, we spent many years in a Renault traffic van driving up and down the country, and
Yeah, we did.
and drinking a lot.
Yeah.
And that continued long after the band. I'll say we've been friends for years, and Brad's obviously, I've known Brad probably close to 10 years now.
Yeah, probably not far off that now. Yeah, jeez, feels like a life sentence.
Just to point out to anyone who doesn't know, me and Stuart used to be in a band together called Lilo, and we did it for quite a few years, and we did pretty well. We played some amazing gigs, and we got to tour up and down the country, and it was like lots of fun. But yeah, indeed, lots and lots of drinking.
Yeah, and I found sometimes I was almost getting into the habit of getting in from work and waiting till the kind of kids had gone to bed, and then pouring myself a large whiskey and coke, and all of a sudden it was like starting to kind of be every night. Now, as much as that's not a lot of alcohol, it was something that it was becoming a habit, just to think, they're going to go to bed and I'll go and have a drink. I wouldn't get drunk, but I would have a big whiskey and coke. And it was like, and then I'd wake up feeling a bit lethargic with a lot of stuff to do. And then I couldn't arrange, my thoughts weren't as, aligned as maybe they should have been, to kind of have to do quite a few things in one day. So I stepped back from that quite a lot.
So you've been laying off the booze?
Yeah. I've been doing intermittent fasting and stuff like that as well. So
I've heard a lot.
My
of
wife's doing that, and she's
Yeah.
lost loads. And she's lost like about 2 stone,
Yeah.
nearly 3, I think, from that.
So I only eat 6 hours a day. Like that's what I do.
6 hours a day.
Yeah, I'll go to one of them restaurants called Spoons where you can just eat all you want.
Eat for 6 hours.
I'll just stay in there for 6 hours by the ice cream machine. No, I've literally been in it a couple of weeks now, and it's just about getting in that state of ketosis, and but yeah, I'm sure it's probably what Sarah's doing, but yeah, I'm just enjoying that at the moment. And again, if I eat a bit better, I feel better as well. If I eat shit and drink, I wake up and feel shit.
Things are so
it's
easy
true.
to do, and it's really easy to just go and grab whatever, and then whatever drink or whatever, and it is self-perpetuating. I'm in that trap at the moment. Like I say, bottle of wine is like a can of Coke for me now. And it's like every day, and then like you look at it Saturday morning, you think, oh, just have a little bit or whatever, and then before you know it, it's kind of taking over. But the worst thing I'm finding at the moment is everything is all right. Like, it doesn't seem to be affecting anything, and it's almost quite scary, because I think this is going to come on top, I think, at some
Do you
stage.
not think if you didn't do it, you'd see the difference?
Oh, totally, yeah, of course. But it's it's kind of a concern of like, I think where everything is so on top and so busy at the moment, the time that you do get, I want to completely relax. It's normally like 8, 9 o'clock at night by the time the kids have got to sleep or whatever.
Yeah.
She'll put something on Netflix, and I've got like a little window of like 10 minutes where I'll either fall asleep or I can kind of have a drink, and I feel a little bit kind of buzzing, a bit excited kind of thing. So I'm kind of in that trap at the moment. But
Why do you have a drink?
I don't know. I think because
Why don't you have a cup of tea or you know, or a soft drink?
I do.
I'm not judging. I just want to know why you chose
this is what
that.
this is for.
Like,
no, because I do.
Because I've done exactly the same for years and years and years.
Yeah,
right? And
I find myself wanting to do that something else. Like I've been saying to Nick the last few times, like
lift it up.
That's
and
that
make
little,
things better somehow.
That little something else. Like if I do, I'll have a coffee because it almost feels like I shouldn't have a coffee at 8 o'clock at night because of that weird coffee rule or whatever. That don't really affect me, but
I used to. So for 10 years, I drank 2 bottles of wine a day at night time.
Wow.
And
I'm the worst I ever saw you.
There's been some bad times.
Was when I thought that's not right. Was we went. I met my wife. And I think that the band had finished, and you were still drinking 2 bottles of wine a night, and I remember that we went to the cinema, and I said, "Oh, we're going to watch that film," and you went, "What time did it finish?" And I was like, "I don't know," and it was like you was working out if you could have 2 bottles of wine after the film.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I thought,
yeah.
And I thought that's really bad.
That's
stuck in my head.
I didn't used to like going to the cinema in those days because it would be all right if we went early, but essentially I used to always want to start drinking by 10. And like there was times when I'd go out and be out a lot later and then still come home and still get that wine in before I went to sleep.
Yeah.
It's almost just to knock me out to go to bed. And the funny thing is, you were saying, from what you were saying, was that when I actually stopped drinking, I did feel better for a while. But now I can't say it makes any difference.
Yeah.
It makes very little difference to me. I can still, like, being a miserable wanker, I think so what I don't do anymore now, and I think this is fairly new, was that if I was off of work, so I was off of work for a week, we went on holiday, or any reason I was off of work, I would still revert back to that behaviour. So it could be the Easter holidays, say the ones that just gone, and then I would revert back to sitting up really late, drinking 2 bottles of wine and feeling like shit the next day. I don't do that anymore, and that has only probably been over the last year that I've stopped doing that. And generally, I do feel a bit better as a result.
Yeah.
As in physically, I feel better, and I feel more able. Like I can look after my kids better, rather than it all just feeling like fucking hard work.
Yeah.
But I can still get
driving after them 2 bottles of wine is a nightmare.
It gets
isn't it?
really tricky, especially in the dark.
I wouldn't do
It's a
that.
nightmare. Can't find the headlights.
I didn't do that.
Not again.
No, I'm really strict with that. But I imagine in the mornings I was probably.
Yeah,
I probably weren't fit.
Or if you actually like breathalyzed yourself. Yeah, they do say sometimes it stays in your
because
system.
I know.
Yeah.
I know I'm over.
Yeah.
I don't condone drink driving.
No, not at all. It's a rubbish hobby.
But like I know I'm over. But how do you then manage everything? How do you kind of keep motivated? Because like motivation's a massive thing, especially when you're feeling miserable. Getting the motivation to get up and do things. Like I used to quite regularly in my dark days be 4 hours late for work. Because just getting up and getting to work was like the hardest fucking thing in the world. I was hungover and I was miserable. So how do you keep motivated to keep going on and keep up with everything you're doing? What motivates you, Stuart?
Don't know. That lyric, "I'm so close to being more than I've ever been," just resonates with me all the time.
Who's that?
6x7, and I just think I want to be more of what I can be, and I think maybe set an example of my kids, because I think my dad, being someone that had a few jobs and set up businesses, lost businesses, and restarted businesses, inspired me a lot.
I could see that.
Seeing that, like I remember thinking that was really interesting to, and it makes you proud when you see people that are, and I like people with like drive. I do find, like, if I meet someone like that, this got, to me, there's walkers and talkers, and if I see a walker, I get excited because, and the reason I met you was through your brother-in-law,
Craig,
who's very much a walker.
Oh, mate, he's something else.
And and
Shout out to Craig's.
Yeah, and I just, things like that where people are just like, well, should we just fucking do it?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, because so many people sit and talk about, I might do this, I might do this, I might do this. And it's like, time goes so fucking quick.
Oh, mate,
and
unbelievably.
It's like, just fucking do it. If you do it and it goes wrong, no one gives a fuck. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I can swear on this podcast.
Totally, mate. Yeah, knock yourself out. Just don't say cunt.
I won't say cunt.
Goolies.
But yeah, I just think, like, I wish I had some really deep, interesting answer for what motivates me, but I don't. I think I just want to be, more than I am.
It's funny because, like, obviously we've known each other many years, and I think there's been times in the life when I've just kind of just followed you, and but you've also kind of I've learnt a lot from you over the years, and from kind of seeing everything you've been doing with the podcast and having a go, doing it with you a little bit, I was just like, I want to do my own one.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to fucking do it. Like, what's the worst that can happen?
There is nothing.
And it's like, and, that kind of inspired me because, just go and do it. And other stuff has kind of happened off the back of it. And it's like, if you put yourself out there, you show that you're willing to do things, then people go, oh, maybe we'll do something with you.
Walkers talk to walkers.
Yeah.
It is. It is a magnet.
True. It is true. And that's why businessmen all know each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think there's a bit about pulling each other up as well. You need to be around other people who do it to pull you up, pull you off.
Thing is, there's little things like the other day, I had loads of trouble with our artwork. I'm still having trouble with it. Like, our episode artwork still doesn't show up. I've had a look into it, and a lot of people's don't. I think it's iTunes are always changing stuff. We got rejected maybe 30 times for this podcast. Like, we had loads of trouble with it, but obviously we're all sorted out now. But yeah, I just rang you up. I said, what do you use for your artwork? And you were like, right. I had already tried that and didn't quite work. But like little things like that, sometimes I get a phone call from you and you're like, how do we do that thing? Like, that's it. And it's just like bouncing around little ideas. Yeah. And you'll have like someone you think, Nick knows such and such, or that's such and such, or this or that. And it's just all like a little network, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I suppose it is you kind of inspire each other as you go.
Completely.
And you kind of need that because, like, I think if I was around other people who are like really depressed all the time, I would feel depressed all the time. I go to like this Monday psychotherapy group, and I find if I'm feeling really good, like I have been lately because this has been exciting me, then I go there and it's like everyone's miserable. Like, I can come away feeling exactly the opposite, and it's like, what's the point in this? But obviously it has its benefits as well. But yeah, if you're around, it's almost like if you listen to miserable music all day long, then you're going to feel miserable.
Yeah, and sometimes it is nice to listen to like a little bit of miserable music. But
because it can make you feel a lot warm and
but
cozy.
it gives you perspective.
It can make you experience emotion. Right?
Yeah, totally.
And like, I was talking to, Frank Carter on Friday. That's the first name.
We should get a bell, shouldn't we? Ding.
I will say, I've met Frank Carter, and he's fucking diamond.
Mate.
I'm looking forward to it.
And he has anxiety.
Yeah, and he's, I was just, but he was saying about listening to sad music, and we were saying, like, do you have, like, do you only kind of immerse yourself in that when you're feeling like that? Like, if you're feeling low, why listen to low music? Surely that would exaggerate that and it can only make it worse. But I don't know.
There's beauty in it as well.
Of course there is, but do you have to be low to experience that beauty?
No, I quite like it as well, like when it crops up. Your doorbell sounds like No Surprises. When I push the doorbell, I was like, oh fucking hell, and I just had it in my head like as I come
nice
in.
surprise as well.
It was a nice surprise, yeah. And like it
Give you
just,
another
it,
nice
yeah,
surprise.
yeah, that's why I come. Like them little triggers, like kind of keep you going. Like even when you're happy and you hear like a little sad song, you're like, oh yeah, I was sad, I remember that, and then
Yeah, but I'm
I
not
don't
now,
feel like
yeah.
that today.
So, sorry. What did he say then? What did Frank Carter say?
No, he was just saying that that he feels that he was very much saying like, you know, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's film, you know, you should immerse yourselves in the emotion of it, but not necessarily throw yourself at it if, you know, you're not in the right place for that at that time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
This is like it's kind of more. A lot of therapy now suggests that you don't, rather than going fight. Like I'm fighting, feeling sad, or I'm fighting. There's a reason why you feel that way, and you can acknowledge it and sit in it for a bit.
yeah.
You know, you don't have to let it take you over, but it's like, well, I feel sad because, and that's fine. You don't have to go, if you're fighting it, you're almost like, it's almost counterproductive and it's not really that helpful. It's fine.
I think sometimes having a little glimpse of, I feel like this today, I'm all right with it because I know at some point it's kind of going to get better.
Yeah.
What I've experienced is like thinking, oh, this is going to be so good, especially like work-wise and everything. Oh, I've cracked it and this is great. And then like it doesn't, or it changes or it goes wrong or something. Like getting your head around the fact that even if it goes wrong, trying again, like you say, just try something else, pick yourself up, try a new idea, learn what you learnt from that, and then totally. That's exactly it.
That's another thing you were saying to me the other day, and it's like, yeah, well, of course, it's fucking obvious. Yeah, if you don't try, you got to make it happen, haven't you? And you got to do it. It's funny. Like I only listen to In the Navy by
Village People.
By the Village People. That's all I listen to now. It's funny, right? I got a message the other day from someone we both know, and I won't say who it is, saying that, almost kind of giving a bit of a dig at what we're doing, saying like, I have anxiety, but I don't talk about it. You know, I don't think it helps, and I think people just play on it. And I was like, well, that does happen. Of course it happens. But then I kind of pointed out the fact that he had just talked to me about it.
Yeah.
And he probably wouldn't have ever done that if he hadn't listened to the podcast.
Yeah, I
was like,
I had a bloke on site.
It works, doesn't it?
He literally said the words, I don't know what's going on. We never had any of these problems before we had mental health. Now we've got mental health. The world's fucked. Like, what's going on? And I was like, everyone in this canteen, like, yeah, I don't know, fucking gays, Brexit, black people, whatever.
See, I'm gonna say something that I drew from your first podcast that I thought was weird.
Yeah, go.
And so I thought it was weird that you referred to blokes in polo shirts and you referred to blokes on site like
they were different.
Like they were different from if you was an alternative creative musician, something like that. I think they're the ones that need it more.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of, I don't want to generalise about creatives, but I think creative people are generally more open and more expressive.
Yeah,
I think
but,
it's so easy to generalise.
And so, and I think that, I, like you, Brad, worked on site loads, and I work with people. Well, he passed away last year, didn't he? Like the fellow I partnered up with on the when I was doing the Winders. Yeah. Back in the 90s, speaking completely openly about his mental health problems. Someone in my family is very much what you would probably call a bloke's bloke, and phoned me up maybe 3 months ago, just saying like, yeah, I just keep bursting into tears. Don't know what's wrong with me. And he wears a polo shirt.
Yeah.
And I think they're the ones that might be being that brazen and trying to adopt that masculine stance because they don't know how to like feel comfortable speaking to people.
Totally.
Like, And yeah, so I just wanted to mention that because it's like
Nice, great.
And that
like-
kind of is. I think we
because you come across to me. I've come on your podcast. I'm digging you. Sorry,
No, but the
no,
thing is,
but-
what we want to set a precedent that people do make mistakes.
No, you tell
and-
me if I'm wrong.
No,
Yeah,
no,
but
no.
like-
We want to be made wrong, and like whoever's listening, we want stuff pointed out. Like
Yeah.
we want to be used as an
about
example.
debate, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally get it.
completely,
yeah.
Totally, yeah.
And I did think that it seemed a little, as if like because you're alternative, you're kind of battling against them people.
Well, that's
Yeah.
often how it feels, though.
Yeah.
And I think all I can do is talk from experience.
Yeah,
And I think the reality of it is that more than anything else, I've always kind of felt jealous about those people, if anything. They always seem to have their shit together. They always seem to be, manly.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that. So
a perception of manliness.
Yeah.
Because
but that's
I'm not like that.
that's just
and,
my
and-
perception of manliness.
I think there's confidence.
Yeah.
And manliness are two different things.
That's true, but they do run in parallel.
Yeah.
very much. And I think for me, it was. I'm just kind of. All I can do is talk from my feelings
Yeah.
and experience. And I agree totally with what you say. And actually, those are the people who probably, that in fairness, I kind of think those are the people who could do with the encouraging to talk a bit more.
Because if you look, because you mentioned football supporters, like blokes that like football and things like that, and for me, you
did listen to it.
You really fucking listen,
like
didn't you?
so. For you to turn your guitar up to 10
Yeah.
and go on stage and fucking have it, and I was stood beside you doing exactly the same, and it felt like the greatest thing ever. It was expressing
Was
yourself,
that like football?
and but is that no different from standing in a crowd at a Verve show singing "Come
No,
On"
no,
at the
it's
top
not,
of your voice?
it's
Is
not.
that any different from going to watch your football team and singing whatever chants that your team think at the top of your voice?
I totally agree. I think that's very true.
It's expression, right?
it's very,
and
very true.
And maybe them, when you see footballers, like football fans on Match of the Day or whatever, when it cuts to the crowd and their team's been right, they're in tears.
Yeah.
Is that any different from watching Spiritualised play Broken Heart live and you're bawling your eyes out watching that? It's passion
Yeah, no, that's
and
very
it's
true,
expression.
yeah. And it's an opportunity to be like that.
Yeah,
It like to go there and to cry because your team's lost.
yeah.
Like it's an opportunity to have that emotion. That's very true.
Yeah.
That is
You
very
know what?
true.
And
Because I remember when Boyzone broke up and you was crying.
Yeah.
like,
Well, who wasn't? You know what I mean? We're all in
but
bits.
I think what you say is very true, and I totally agree with
Yeah.
you. And what I like the fact that you said that because it makes me think differently.
I go to a boxing club where there's lots of fellas that you will probably be a little bit. If you knew who they were before you walked in there, which you guys do.
Yep.
You may have thought, "Oh, what am I letting myself in for?" Going to a boxing club with these players. You've both been in that boxing club and met these people who are quite notorious for different bits and pieces.
I haven't.
Yes, you have.
I haven't been in.
Like no, but you've met the people
I've
like
met a
the
few, yeah.
I have.
nicest people ever.
Yeah, definly.
Like
Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Especially Danny,
and
George, Mike.
I suppose it's because
we'll get in a ring with you.
Human condition.
Smash you around the head. You'll smash them around the head, and then they'll cuddle you and they'll tell you they love you, and then you'll sit there and you'll chat about it, and there's complete and utter love and respect, and to me, you know, I get the same from that as I do from playing in the band or doing things like that. I just still find it's something that's you have to have. You know, you've got to be ambitious and you know, and you've got to make the effort to do it and get better at it, and you've got to be respectful within it, and you know, and it's exactly the same as
I
what
think
I got out
what
of.
we did
That's
is
very true.
we kind of probably generalised to try and get our point across.
Yeah.
I think, and that thinking back does make perfect sense.
I'm not saying he's right or wrong at all.
No.
But it was when I had to come on here
though, because
I thought I did
Yeah.
want to talk about
this is
some
our
of the
journey.
things-
This is our journey, and we're learning.
Yeah.
So.
And it's funny because I tend to do this all the time. Like I'll make a decision or a judgment about it, and then I'll actually kind of sit back and think, well, they can't help it, or it's that, and then I'll turn myself round. And what I'm actually trying to do now is not be so judgmental and actually just try and be a bit more open-eyed about things. And I think what happens is I come from the stance of I come from feeling inadequate and not around those people. And that is where my kind of prejudices come from. But you're totally
in their
right.
environment. So if they come into your environment and
They
watch
would
your
feel
band on
inadequate,
stage, maybe they'd feel that that was something
That's
that
true.
they'd probably love to be able to do, but feel inadequate to
And
do
I think,
that.
And then there's the other thing about the majority. You know, like when I was growing up at school, all the boys played football.
Yeah.
You know, like they all fucking did. Everyone played football. Everyone shared their football cards. And then that made me feel inadequate. So I think, so that's kind of where I'm coming from, just to kind of explain that if I said things, if I was making wild judgments, I can only kind of talk from that as my experience. But I'm glad you say that, because it's very true. Like I often kind of think and I moan about my dad, and then I think I put myself in his shoes a little bit, and I feel differently. So and I really like the football thing, because like that's so true.
Yeah.
And you think it's an opportunity to feel those emotions. And I used to think, well, that's just there to kind of feed the masses, keep them quiet. You know, all these things are going through my head. And basically, all I was saying really was I feel inadequate.
Yeah.
And it always comes back to all of these things.
Yeah.
Always comes back to my own feelings about myself.
Yeah.
And primarily those feelings are I've never felt good enough.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that's kind of so that is why it's not about the other people.
Yeah.
It's really not. And I'm glad for you to pick me up on it, because if I'm really honest about it and I really kind of search my soul, it's got nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
It's just all about me and my own inadequacies. And I've got to get past that.
Yeah.
And it's fucking annoying that I'm like 43 and I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
But that's the reality of it. That's exactly
but
what
I
it
think
is.
that's the reality of it for 99.9%.
But
No, but everybody.
It's the human condition.
Yeah,
almost.
of course. Everyone's going to find themselves in situations that they're feeling inadequate in.
Yeah.
Probably on a daily basis in some way, shape or form. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah, I suppose some people are better at hiding it.
Yeah.
Or better at getting on with it without it taking them over. And some people are iller than others.
Yeah.
But
that's an important thing you just said there.
Yeah. You know, some people, like for me, I can't cope with things as well as a lot of other people at times. And that's just the fucking, that's the facts of it.
Yeah.
And some people can. Some people can bounce back quicker than others. But I think, do you ever think, though, that what's interesting, what you say, is that like the people we're talking about, or other men often, they might come across as being more manly or confident, and but actually they're probably dealing with their own little battle inside.
Completely.
But do you think it's often harder for them to talk about it?
Probably.
Do you think there's like the kind of stigma that, they might not want to talk about it because someone might go, oh, you're gay or you're a pussy, or they may feel that they look that way?
Yeah, I do think that's changing.
I do think it's getting better.
I do think that there's, lots of campaigns and lots of awareness things, and podcasts like this that that encourage people to talk. And I think whether it's about mental health or physical health or just your well-being, it's good to talk, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
that's kind of why,
because
why I wanted to do it, really.
You can get balance from it, and you can get, it's really weird. Because I was just, when I was getting ready to come round here, and I was just thinking about some things that I'd say, because I thought, well, I've not necessarily really struggled with depression or anything like that. I had a stint on antidepressants for a month.
I remember you saying,
And
I kind of, you didn't go into it in much detail, but I remember like you saying that you'd stopped taking them, and why?
because
You felt it numbed you, it dulled your senses, and that dulls your drive a little bit.
completely that.
And it's funny because I do think
Stuff was washing over me, and I felt, I'm a bit of a control freak, and
you need to be on that edge a lot of the time to make things happen.
I guess so. I mean, you're talking about me like I'm Gordon Gecko. I'm really not.
No.
You know,
I don't mean it like that.
But yeah, I do. But then I was thinking to myself, well, although I've not really suffered with depression, and I'm happy that obviously I've never had to endure what millions of people suffer with daily, because it's fucking horrible. But then I thought to myself, well, I guess mental health isn't just depression, is it? And I was thinking, a lot of the time during the band and before the band, I think it was 11 years in total, I would drink 2 bottles of wine, but I'd then go and stick my fingers down my throat. And and I had bulimia for 11 years. Bulimia for 11 years.
I remember you saying, like, you spoke to my mum, and she was like, I think it might be that.
Yeah.
I remember when you used to do that.
Right. And
how was it living with that then? Like, obviously was that when you were on tour?
No, it was just daily for 11 years.
Wow.
And it was really weird because I just forget about it. And it was only that Pip brought it up when I done Pip's podcast. And because I think when we had Jess Megan on, the body positive model, it come up, and she was talking about girls with eating disorders, and I was like, well, guys can have eating disorders as well.
Yeah.
And it was really weird because I'd never discussed it really, and then Pip brought it up, and I was like, oh fuck! I said, well, I don't know anything about it, only what happened to me. I've never addressed it. I've never really gone into it or spoke to anyone else that's gone through it. And when I say gone through, I didn't suffer with anything with it. I didn't, like, it just become very normal very quickly. But it was something.
These things do become normal.
That was two or 3 times a day.
Yeah, I remember. You used to have something to eat, and then you'd throw up, and it was almost like a bit of a joke.
Yeah, completely.
But it weren't really a joke.
Not in the slightest.
But like, I would suggest that that's probably all about self-image, because
of course it is.
Because you used to be a massive fatty boom boom.
Yeah.
Is that a technical term?
Like, that's a really easy way to lose weight, and
it's not.
No,
it's a fucking terrible way to lose weight,
and it fucks your teeth.
Yeah.
But like, I could see, I could see why you might have done that.
Yeah, of course.
And I've also, you've always been quite obsessive about exercise.
Yeah.
And you've always been dieting.
Yeah.
Haven't you? You've always.
Oh, my weight is my problem. That is the thing that I'm constantly uncomfortable with, and and I don't know why. I just guess for someone that's trying to be the best they can be, then I guess sometimes you can't be, you can't strive to sort of creatively do the things that you want to do, and be a parent and a husband, and also be a super healthy eater and an exercise freak. It slips, and and I easily slip into eating shit.
But there's also a bit about that food offers a certain amount of reward as
completely.
Well. If you've been fucking rushed off your feet for a week, and then on Saturday it's like, I'm gonna have a pizza, and it's like, well, like I spoke about this with my hypnotherapist, and he always goes by the 80-20 rule, is what he said. 80% of the time you're good, 20% of the time, within reason, you should be able to not be good.
Yeah.
so you know, as long as the rest of the time you're kind of not eating shit, and then 20% of the time you treat yourself, all the time you're denying yourself, you're actually making it worse.
Yeah.
Because you can't have it, and then you end up binging. So you're better off just having a little bit of something because it will keep it
completely.
It's easier to maintain.
Yeah.
Which is that, like the diet that you said.
Yeah.
That works quite well like that because my wife finds like she'll starve herself. The worst thing is she gets really like umpy when they're starving herself. Days.
Everyone's grumpy when they're hungry, though, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm not. But then I started doing it. But she was doing really well with it, and you haven't said, but I've lost some weight. And
obviously we did think it when we did.
Yeah, no, I know.
I text you. I text you, and I was like, "Look at his weight."
I did, in all honesty, when you come around the other day, thought, "Oh, Nick's lost some weight."
Yeah. So, but what's happened is I actually feel physically much better. I don't feel as kind of heavy, obviously, but you know, like you just don't. I don't feel as heavy around my waist, and I've got this thing that I still want to be wafer thin rock star, but I know like. I think once you hit a certain age, if you look at Dave Grohl now, he's not fat, but he's not like thin. You just fill out a bit of age, don't you?
I think like you shouldn't judge, but I always think in those circumstances, probably gets woken up in the morning, maybe like it's got a couple of hours to exercise, sees the kids or whatever. Like their days are kind of a bit more structured, and that's my biggest want in life is a day that structured. Yeah, to have the time and the time at the same time of having the energy. To go, right, because I know you run quite a lot, don't you, in the morning, Stu?
Yeah, I'll try to, yeah.
Like, that's a dream for me, to be able to sort of... I mean, I get up early. I'm up like 3:30, 4 o'clock. If the kids haven't woken me up, then I'm up like driving up to wherever for work and stuff. Work, I think, I blame for a lot of those problems. But then when I speak to other people at work, they're like, oh, yeah, I went for a run this morning, but then they haven't got the 2 kids. So it's kind of like, it's getting the balance right between it all. That's the holy grail.
Painkillers,
yeah,
and
crack.
Self-destructive. I've got a self-destructive thing in me where, so if I don't eat all day, I like it.
Yeah, see, I struggle. Like I'm literally constantly looking around for the next bit of food.
It's not good. And where I've had arse problems and it's kind of come back.
You're talking about you've been doing this recently.
Yeah, and but I've started eating a bit better actually. But I've stopped having lunch. But what I've done is because I did go for a period when I was hardly eating, and then I lost loads of weight. But I was taking loads of painkillers. I didn't have any kind of appetite, and when my arse hurt, I started to get a bit frightened of eating. So that's why I lost weight. I've started sorting it out a bit now. But that was a mental thing. That was like totally. And then there's that self-destructive streak comes in. It's like, well, see how long you can do this. And then I start feeling quite pleased with myself. Yeah. And then I'm like, then I start liking that it makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
And it is just that fucking self-destructive element of my brain that's like, well, you're a cunt anyway. You might, if it kills you, you fucking deserve it. And I just I go through these cycles with everything I've noticed, but I have kind of sorted that out now. I have started eating, but that's how I lost all my weight. That was a mental thing. I was frightened to eat because every time I shit, it fucking hurt.
Yeah.
So I wasn't eating, and then I was taking loads of painkillers because my arse fucking hurt, and then I just lost weight.
Yeah.
And I lost loads of weight really quickly. But I don't advise anyone to do that.
Yeah.
No.
But that was totally mental, And the thing is with food is often with bulimia and those kind of things, it's the control element is the thing. So I know someone I've known for years, and she had issues with bulimia, and that was because her life was fucking chaos and it was awful. And the one thing she could control was what she ate. And if she was thin, she felt better about herself. And it was just about control more than anything else. And quite often it is in those cases.
It's rubbish. It's proper
pretty
rubbish.
Awful. And it's just fucking shit's fucking mental, isn't it? Shit is fucking mental.
Did you
I don't know what else to say.
Did you have anything else around yours, Stu, when in and around that time, or do you think it was just down to like self-image and everything else?
Yeah, just completely that. Completely that. Yeah, just wanted to be thin.
That's totally understandable though, because like there's no reason why you as a man shouldn't experience the same things that, like, you know, young women now are bombarded constantly on like social media with pictures of what they should look like. It's 10 times worse. But it's not just them. People often, like, I was watching something at work the other day, which I shouldn't have really been watching this morning, but I was, and it was about, like, you know, like young women feeling like they can't, you know, they can't do this and they can't do that because they've got to be thin.
But
And
you said you've long wanted to be a skinny rock star.
yeah, no.
What's the
This is
difference?
what I'm getting at. This is what I was getting at. And then like the adverts were all of, you know, beautiful thin women, and then they were like, and I was like, that we get that as well. We get that as well. I mean, women might get it more blatantly, but through the media, but men get that as well. And as men are becoming a little bit more relaxed, you know, they look after themselves more. I think it even gets worse, doesn't it? Because
I think if you look
see
at
it on the internet as well. You know, all these hunky guys, and
if you look at the stats of, like, I think it's. Oh, I'm going to do some Chris Glass and guesswork here. It's quite weird the amount of 18 to 25-year-olds that are teetotal. Because in it, you know, in the industry that are working with the clubs,
I missed that on your.
You know, you see that trends in clubbing has changed now. Whereas
They don't sell as much booze.
well, I guess it depends in what venues, but I'm quite sure. If you know, I think a lot of people are very conscious of their trip to Ibiza or their trip to whatever country they're going to on holiday to have that beach body, and yeah, and I do think that people do physically look after themselves a lot more than they ever have done.
I work with, or have worked with, lots of kind of people in their like late teens. Very few of them drink.
Yeah.
Or if they do drink, it's very occasional. They're not that interested in it. They'll smoke loads of ganja and they'll do other things, but they're not fucking interested in drinking. And like I've had colleagues who will like show off to them about how much they drink. You know, like we might. You know, like, oh, yeah, I had loads to drink. And they're like, well, you're a pisshead then. What are you doing that for? Like, why are you showing off about that? And like our generation, we might have done that more. But I find like the younger generation, they're really not interested in it.
Do you think that might be like the change? Obviously, there's no. I don't think there's as many alcohol adverts and stuff like that, and the way the branding's changed and everything else.
I think a lot of people, like, they see like people outside pubs being pissed idiots, and they think, what a prick.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're impressed by it like maybe we were.
No.
I think that going out has changed dramatically anyway. I think, you know, if you look at when we was younger, Nick, and we'd go out, we would have a drink somewhere, a cheap drink, to get ourselves halfway there. But, you know, it's important, I guess, to point out that we wasn't going to clubs that were driven by ecstasy, and you know, we was going to jump around to guitar music, and that's generally beer fueled, that sort of alcohol fueled, that indie clubs.
Yeah, dance clubs. Then. Like, I can't imagine they make much behind the bar.
Well, they're obviously, you know, ecstasy's far more focused on dance music.
That was more my bag, really, growing up. And it was just, well, I don't know, I really liked the refreshing taste of beer. So I always sort of had both. But it does make you wonder, like, what the actual sales would be in comparison to how much, like, actual pills they sold.
So now, if you look at the reasons that you went out to hear music that maybe you couldn't hear. You wanted to hear new music. You wanted to hear some of your favourite records.
Most of the time I went out because you told me I was coming out.
And like,
I'll be around it now. All right.
And then you'd also want to go and meet girls or guys or whatever, you know, you're interested in. So nowadays, you could go to a club and spend however much on booze, or you could go to a supermarket, which is one of the main reasons that nightclubs are dropping like flies. Buying a case of beer for like £9.
Yeah.
And sitting indoors with your mates, creating Spotify playlists of any music you want. And you can chat to all the girls on Twitter, Grindr, all of these apps.
And then you can just meet the ones you want to meet.
Wow.
That's very true. Yeah, I suppose.
And it eradicates.
It's a change of culture, isn't it?
It eradicates. Not that I've ever been one of them people that ever went up to someone and went, "Can I buy you a drink?" I couldn't. I did not
I've
have
never
that.
done that. No. I'm scared of women.
No.
I don't know how that even happened. I think that's just in films, you know.
Hey? No, people did do it.
Yeah, no, obviously, but I don't think it happens as much as like people make out.
He had an approach that was, if I throw enough shit, something might stick.
Yeah.
And he had no. Well, if he did, he never let on that it affected him when someone would just be like, "Can you leave me alone, please?"
What I like this is that our friend Dennis is he's kind of a little legend in his own way, and he was and he's not far from the typical masculine man, is he?
No,
he was like a Damon Albarn indie kid. And
you've been very kind about him there.
But he was always amazing. That he would go and like chat up and pull the most amazing girls sometimes, and oft, and not. But it was later on when I learned through someone who he did go out with is that he would just keep going on until they gave him, which is potentially abuse.
Yeah. Maybe.
Just until like, oh come on, I'll snog you just to shut you up. And as we got older, like sometimes I think if I snog him, will it shut him up? Because he's dreadful. He was going on about a flat Earth last time I saw him, and he just will not hear anything. He just will not. All he'll do is say what he's saying, and he'll keep saying it until in the end you're like, all right then.
I was driving to the club one night with him, and he was on his second can of Tennant's Extra. Super, not extra, super. He was on his second can of that, and he pointed up in the sky and went, "Fucking hell, it's a UFO." I was like, "That's an airplane, mate." And he went, "That's not. That's a UFO." I was like, "Well, you've had 2 cans of Tennant Super. I'm driving and I'm looking at an airplane in the sky." I was like, "That's an airplane, then."
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, I'm telling you, that's a UFO." And you think he's going to argue it.
Like, he'll argue it until you get home. He'll just keep going.
Yeah.
Oh, talking about booze.
I'm quite hungover today, by the way.
Oh,
yeah?
What did you do last night?
I just went and had a couple of beers with Mr. Price and Mrs. Price.
I didn't do it. I watched a film with. Does anyone watch Parks and Rec?
No.
I love Parks and Rec. Oh, you've got to watch it. If you haven't watched it, you've got to watch it. If you like The Office, it's really like... If you like The American Office, it's kind of like that.
I'm just finishing The American Office now.
That must be the second time because I've watched it before. And this is basically... It's like that. It's got loads of really good characters in it. And it is just kind of crazy, though. And if you like The American Office, I was... at points, not all the way through, but at points it is just as good. Yeah. There's a character, Ron Swanson, and you'll love him. And I watched the film with him in it. That was it.
No, yeah.
I had a really boring one.
Still not starting on the American Office yet. I can't get my head around it yet. I mean, I love Steve Carell, definitely, but don't get me wrong. But I suppose I've got to look at it as its own entity.
I like it as much as the British Office.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. Easily as much.
Yeah. There's more characters in the American one.
Exactly. It's like everyone in it is a really good character. Yeah. That's what Parks is like. Everyone's a really good character. And I think the thing is, in life we tend to like characters. We like people. Yeah. We like people's stories. We want to know about them. And that's why the best comedy is character driven. Yeah. Like, sometimes sketches and slapstick and that, it just don't really touch me.
Got a place, but it's not very long lived. Like, look at Afterlife, Ricky Gervais, like the storytelling in that and the arcs of the characters.
Yeah, and it don't have to be funny all the time.
No.
Like, my daughter's watching Friends again. well, she's watched that a couple of times, like every one, and I'll watch it with her sometimes, and I'm like, fucking good characters. You just get into the people and you care about what happens.
I think Friends is arguably one of the greatest sitcoms
like,
ever.
I think we both were well into Friends when it was on.
I was late to it. I remember when it first came out, and I just weren't I went into it. And I think it was on a Friday night, so I was always working.
Yeah.
And then I watched a couple begrudgingly, and I was like, oh, this is really funny. And then bought off all the videos, and that was it. I just had them on. At that point, I couldn't go to sleep unless I had something on.
I remember that.
And so I would have videos on to fall asleep to, or music.
Amazing.
And then the minute I got with my missus, and I was
She
like,
told you to fucking
right,
turn it off.
What the hell are you doing? I was like, what?
I remember you telling me about
She was
that.
like, turn that off. And I was like,
Put the telly on for.
and then all of a sudden
bedtime.
it was like, hello, darkness, my old friend. I was like,
Insomnia. Jeez.
I used to watch, and I used to borrow. Like there was a girl I worked with, and she used to buy them. And get them as they came out. This was how long ago it was. And then she'd watch them and lend them to me, and I used to wait for it. I was working in the kitchen. I used to have 2 bottles of wine a night. I used to sit indoors and cry my fucking eyes out watching Friends, thinking, oh, I'm really, really jealous of Ross and Rachel. And I in those days, I used to cry a lot.
That's lovely though.
And that used to make me bawl my eyes out, especially a bit when they first get together and they've got U2 going on in the background. But I used to watch that and have a massive cry.
Do you know what did me is the bit when the monkey's in hospital and he's choked on the Scrabble pieces, and it's like, oh, it's got an O and a K and everything, and one of them goes, oh, I think he was trying to spell monkey, and then they play the Eagles New York Minute, and like my dad used to like the Eagles anyway, and that hit me straight in the nuts. Like, it really got me. I love that.
But exactly. So you're almost like, it makes you feel good. Like, it's sad and it's all that, but it makes you feel good.
That goes back to Afterlife with I think Ricky's quite obvious of his music choices in that, and Derek, like that final scene in Derek where he stops the car and chases after his dad to Fix You by Coldplay. Yeah, it doesn't matter how obvious it is. I'm bawling my eyes out.
Yeah, totally.
And that song always gets me anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's a great song. And I always think about when we should have been at that gig.
Yeah.
The video, when they filmed the video, we were going to it.
What, Coldplay?
Yeah.
I'd love to see him live. I thought that'd be amazing.
We saw twice, did we?
Yeah, we saw
with Ashcroft and then with Idlewild. The first time we saw them, they're amazing. Second time, they just looked tired.
We saw them. I think it was like Wembley Arena, and we were downstairs, and it was brilliant. And then the next time we went, we were. I think it was
Earl's
Court, and we were at the side.
Yeah,
and it weren't as good.
No, it's rubbish.
But like the first time was brilliant. But you used to get free tickets to stuff, and you used to get always for Coldplay. So like I went to see him at like Shepherd's Bush Empire on the first album. I saw loads at the beginning.
Amazing.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, no, that gig we went to where Rush of Blood had just come out.
That's their best album by
far. That was a really good gig. It really was. Yeah.
It's a very soppy album. I love that album though, and I still listen to that quite regularly. Really, I probably could put that on once a month.
I always go back to the first album because it's just like it's got bits of me in it, like heartbreaks and good summers, and just reminiscent of like not childhood, but growing up and coming up through.
But that's what music is so brilliant at. Like I've put posts on the socials about how brilliant music is.
Yeah, it is.
How fucking brilliant music is.
It's the quickest thing that affects me emotionally. It's like
it's transcendental.
I got caught out because I can't deal with hearing crowds sing at gigs. It breaks me. Like if I hear the crowd singing, if I'm in it, even worse. But I was talking about there's been no great British pop stars for years, and so I was talking about Pulp, and I said Jarvis was the last great British pop star, and I put on them at Reading, I don't know, 10 years ago, playing Common People, which I think's like one of the greatest pop songs ever made.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's that middle eight which was taken off the single edit, You'll never
You're gonna have to sing it.
You'll never understand how it feels to live your life with no meaning or control and nowhere left to go. You're amazed that they exist, but they burn so bright only you can.
You said it.
Well,
Only
they
wonder
cut
why.
vocal bit out of the single.
And yeah, that's not on the single release. That's the full
amazing.
version.
What? How long was the mid late then?
Well, it's part of
quite a long song.
because the full song's also got the bit that breaks. I want to live with common people like you, la, 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 la. And I just and lyrically that's amazing. But just hearing the crowd and it cuts and Richard Hawley's just playing guitar for Pulp, obviously, and he's lost in it, and I don't even think you need to have had an experience as a musician to understand that. I think you can just get it when people it's for real, and it's like, oh yeah, and that I saw the other day, and then literally I burst into tears. I was like, fucking hell, why am I crying again?
I love
But
that
that's
feeling.
almost like, as you say, it's almost like the football chart, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm going to play
you can get
you when
lost
this
in
is
it.
finished. I'm going to play you, Hibs fans, singing "Sunshine on Leaf" by the Proclaimers, and it's one of the most emotional things you'll ever see.
I do love
Yeah,
I love it when there's football chants and that. I do
think
like
I might
it.
be getting turned around here. I'm going to stand up for the weirdos, but maybe not.
Well, no, it's like
I'm quite pleased to have that debate, though.
Yeah.
is that our hour?
Yeah.
That is. So, do you know what we do on our episodes? We literally set a time for an hour. When the time goes off, we stop. It's like a therapy hour. No matter what we're talking about.
It's done.
Yeah.
Cheers, boys.
Thank you for coming along, Stuart Whiffen. Thank you for inspiring us to do podcasts in many ways.
Yeah.
Very,
thank you.
It
very.
wouldn't have happened without you.
No, it really
to
is.
see you
Like,
doing it.
Years of friendship.
it is because of you that we've all of us have done like a
we
lot of
wouldn't
things.
we wouldn't be here together, would we?
Ace.
And that's why it meant a lot for us to have you on as our first guest.
Cheers, man.
First ever.
Feel privileged.
And obviously, we're just going to take our clothes off now and go
some
at
love.
each other as we normally do.
Cheers, mate. Just got to let the valves warm up, everyone. Just let them warm up. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Wembley. Nick Noise out.
I will try to fix you.